Warning, spoilies ahead. Hi, welcome to Two Guys, One Film, a Project Nerd original. I'm Dylan.
And I'm Dane.
And this week we watched 13 Going on 30 with Jennifer Garner.
It's it was the 13th Floor. This was your pick.
No, the email, Gwendolyn.
Gwen,
No, she said Gwendolyn.
no, it was the 13th Floor.
God damn it, Gwendolyn. This week we watched the 13th Floor, the 1999 movie 13th Floor. It was directed by Joseph Rusnak. It was written by Joseph Rusnak and Ravel Santo Rodriguez. It's based off a book by Daniel Galui called The Simulacron 3, which is very impressive because that book came out in like the 60s. So it was really cool to see it was like, from what I was reading, it was like one of the first science fiction movies about like a simulated reality. That's crazy
cool
to think about. But quick synopsis of the movie. Our main character, Douglas, he works for a company that made a simulation machine that's like set in 1930s California, Los Angeles. His boss comes out, and he's like left a message for him, and somebody kills him. So it's like a cool noir, futuristic, but also past noir. It gets fucking crazy. And he's got to figure out who killed him. The detectives after him. They think it's him. Whole bunch of nonsense going on. Because the old guy wanted to shut it down or something like that. And so yeah, it's crazy.
Well, you don't know why he's been killed.
You don't know why. And like all he did was leave Douglas a note in the simulation. And now Douglas doesn't know. Got to figure it out. Who done it? Classic who done it.
Yep.
When
not classic, I guess. No,
guess,
like
yeah.
it kind of ish.
Yeah. When Fuller at the beginning is writing the note, when he goes to lick the envelope, like there's so much saliva.
That is the first thing.
That's the first thing I wrote down too. Just like
because he puts his like mouth like
over it.
Like yeah, he's like getting like
he
puts the whole top of that, and then I thought, was that like a thing like in the 30s?
I think that guy just went overboard.
Because what was it? He had done that because he wanted to relive like where his like childhood was.
Childhood, yeah.
I'm like, how many people did you see do that? Always wanted to be an adult in the 30s and lick envelopes so bad.
like I barely touch those on my tongue because they fucking taste gross.
Yeah.
So I'm always like, but he's just like going to town with it. And yet Vincent D'Onofrio ends up opening it so easily, probably because it was so slobbery. It's like, I don't even have to try so hard.
I know.
Oh shit!
But
I totally forgot. Fuck! I don't want people to see where I'm at. Shit! Fuck! Can we cut that out, Gwendolyn? Can we edit that out?
Yeah. Can you make yourself useful, Gwendolyn?
Yeah.
Can she
edit
hear me?
all that part out. Yeah, she'll hear you.
Okay.
Because I didn't do the background thing. Yeah, she said she'll fix it.
Good.
Yeah, she'll probably do a bang-up job at it anyway.
Always does.
I do like Vincent D'Onofrio in this. He's always so good at playing a creep.
Right?
Like real world version of him, he's like this like timid guy with long hair, but like in the simulation version, he's like this real creepy guy. Like the way he
just
all
has
the
a very
rings on his fingers at all times, you know. And so like, did he design him that way, or did it design itself that way?
I was wondering that too. I'm like, does it just spit out like if you just like I guess I'm curious about how like one is born into that. Like, were they already like that and they just kind of started it?
Because I'm wondering like. Yeah, like, do they give them fake backstories? Because, I mean, obviously they make certain ones look like the people there. Because that was a cool concept I thought about. It's like when you jack in, which I hate how they say jack in, you jump into that basically that avatar of you.
Yeah.
That looks like you, which I thought was a really cool concept. So, like, they obviously had to design those people, but did they get to write the backstories for it? And why was he like, I'm going to be a bartender, and I'm going to be a real sleazy, weird guy that, like, prostitutes these women to old rich men? Like,
I know,
That
like,
doesn't sound like that character because he's like this like computer guy. I was like, all right, dude, that's what you're into.
oh, maybe they were just trying to make it like really, really opposite of like who they were. Because I
Yeah,
mean, what's his name wasn't a murderer,
yeah. It
and
was.
here we. I'm sorry. Well,
Don't
you know
you?
what
Yeah,
you're getting into.
but like,
You don't you jumped right into the spoily zone.
um, I just like how I'm just wondering like if it's they kind of just let the machine do its own thing because it sounds like they just made them
It
their own
it does seem
lives kind of a
like
thing.
somewhat organic, but then again, I wonder, do they have like a birth, or are they programmed to have
Like think
memories?
they have their birth, yeah, probably that because it'd probably be a lot easier because that means that like
And can
simulation
they?
would haven't been
Well,
running for a while and I mean they have been working on it for 6 years.
yeah. And but I mean, and can these simulations procreate?
I mean, why not? I mean, the detective even says so. They think
But they
they're
could.
real.
I know, but
They
like,
work, they drink, they eat, they book. It's like, oh, yep.
yeah, but do they make babies from that, or is
I
it? Do they
mean, they
just?
have to because then they would question their world.
I know, but all they really have to do is drive away from it.
They
I
don't. They
don't know.
don't
Like,
want
I
to.
guess
They don't want to because it's in their mind. They don't know because there's barricades that say like don't drive. So a complacent simulation will be like, oh, we can't go down there. That road ends. Like the only reason that we'll go to that later.
yeah, yeah, a lot of thinking. But anyway, like right at the beginning of the movie where Fuller comes walking out and they show like like the city and stuff, I just and it happens in a few spots of the movie that like early 90s, like early 2000s CG, like it
Yeah.
felt like back then that if they could, they just did it because they could, and they would put
Hmm.
as much as they possibly could.
Like parts of it make sense because you have to make it look like
Yeah,
1930s California. But I thought a clever thing that he puts in there to make it like the audience going, this looks kind of weird and cheesy, and like the color grade, because even like when he first comes out of it,
the
he's
color,
like the
yeah,
colorizing needs work, and I was like, that's a fucking cool thing because it's still technically like a work in progress. So like it's
yeah,
totally easily written off as like, oh yeah, things are still working out because even like Douglas said he's like, yeah, it's kind of like pixelated in spots and weird, but the colorizing needs work. I was like,
yeah.
fucking clever to be like, well, it's 1999 and our
Okay, so then they could totally
yeah,
get away with it.
which is cool because yeah,
Well,
there's
but then
many.
again, like and here I am, like jumping really far, because you find out that well,
Well, wait,
I figured it
yeah,
out, but
yeah, but I liked
I
yeah.
guess we'll just keep. We won't go too far into it yet.
Um,
But I did notice that once Fuller gets home, I love there's the cat on the couch, and that cat just like meows at him, but that reaction that the cat gives him does not match the sound. I was like, that
yeah,
cat looks pissed off, and it's just like, oh, meow, like all
which is
like,
it's a pretty good detail. Is the cat doesn't know who that dude is because
yeah,
yeah, it's in that guy's body, but it's not that guy. So I mean, that'd be a
yeah,
cool detail. She just kept the cat like hissing at him,
yeah.
like oh.
Because
Because
I could
at
have
first you
taken,
don't play it off as that. You're like, oh, it's just some old guy, whatever. And then he wakes up. You're like, oh, he was in a simulation.
ah,
The computer, she sounded like Gladys from Portal to me.
I, me
And
too.
then it also brought up a good point of like every science fiction movie has to have a speaking computer to tell you what's going on. Like downloading in progress, transfer complete,
And it
timer
like,
not set.
and it has to repeat it over
Yeah,
and over.
like we don't have that
I know that doesn't exist like
because it'd be
now.
fucking annoying. Like yeah, the only thing is like GPS tells us, but it needs to tell us. But like when I'm like editing a video, it's not like I'll compressing video, exporting 43%. 44%, 45%. Like that would I would fucking throw my computer out the window if I did that.
Now, if I could add those sounds myself, then I might,
Yeah.
because then it would be me saying it. It would probably make me laugh every time I did it.
I just don't know why they do it in movies cuz like they're showing the screen of what it's saying.
I mean, is that really a
S-
thing that goes on now, though? I mean, that this movie came out in '99.
Yeah. But like even like 80s movies, 70s movies like they would still show the screen and the thing would just say what it's showing on the screen. Like I can
Yeah,
read. I don't have to have the computer go like you didn't set a time. The guy didn't set a
yeah,
time.
but now you don't have to read.
Mhm.
Like, oh yeah, we're gonna show you a close up of the screen,
Yeah.
but say you weren't looking, you knew what it said already because she
Yeah.
keeps repeating. Timer not set, or not
Timer not
engaged, or
set.
something.
Do not engage. Timer not set.
I love the
And-
green lasers too.
Yeah, whoosh, for no reason. Well, it's the future. When you have a video game machine simulation, you're gonna need lasers.
Well, yeah.
You're at Laser Storm,
I,
and you're
I
just
I wrote this down, and it's probably because it made me kind of laugh when what's his name gets stabbed. It just like the way it sounds. It's so squishy. Like
Yeah.
he's
maybe he had a bunch of like
he
Go-Gurt
did.
packets or some like Taco Bell hot sauces in his pocket, and he just hit
He
those
just kept
first.
stabbing. But I'll go back to your sounds. I was like, I thought everything in this, like everything makes future sounds. Like everything is beeping. Like everything is like, like you, the elevator. Like when it like shows those lights, it's like,
Which are very futuristic lights for an elevator.
right.
Like, but yeah, like even like yeah, they go like ting, and then like everything makes a fucking sound. Like
And then
even
as
when
soon
you're
as he
going in, like
walks- yeah. And then, like
Yeah. and then like the computer while you're typing is making like diddly diddly. I'm like no, they don't.
That's why I just wrote future
Yeah.
sounds. Like in the future, everything makes sounds. Future sound.
No. And Douglas lives in the Blade Runner apartment. I don't know if you noticed that.
I did not.
His apartment is Decker's apartment from Blade Runner because it has those weird like spirally patterns and stuff. Once again, I don't know why I notice architecture and shit. In
Yeah,
movies. I'm
you
like,
have
that's
this-
the fucking Blade Runner apartment, dude. Fuck yeah!
He's
Like
got
I
a
remember when we
keen
first
eye
watched that, I was
for-
like, oh shit, that's Decker's apartment, dude. Fuck yeah.
Keen eye for architecture in movies.
Mm-hmm.
And hearing what's his name.
Oh, Frank Welker. I'm a
Yeah,
Frank
yeah.
Welker expert, and I'm a fucking locations expert.
Yeah. But I thought like, man, it's like he lives in a temple. Like some weird like
It
Mayan
does.
temple.
Yeah, he's a
Cool.
god. He made himself a god. You know, he works. They literally do make a simulation. So I guess he technically is a god. So he might as well live like one. And that line, okay, so like the detective, I like how he's that typical like noir, like trying to figure out stuff detective. And was saying stuff like, "Hey, mind if I tag along? We could do this in my office. Whatever, make it a little more easy."
Yeah.
And he's like, "Oh man, must make a lot of money around here." And the guy's like, "Yeah, I make a living." And I'm like, dude, that's
Yeah.
like such a dick thing to say. It's like, yeah, I
Yeah.
make a shitload of money to say that.
Like I have a lot of money.
Mhm.
If I'm ever rich and someone says that to me, I'm like, yeah, I have a lot of money.
Yeah.
They'll be like, wow, dick. I'm like, what do you want me to say? Something like, I make a living.
Yeah, I make a living. Yeah, it pays the bills.
Yeah, keeps me in diapers.
I do like. It's hard because this movie came out the same year as The Matrix, so a lot of people are like, "It's a Matrix ripoff." I'm like, well, this is based
Not
on a book
really.
from the '60s, and it might just because it's about a simulation and questioning reality. It's like The Matrix wasn't the only one to do it. Yes, they did it incredibly well. Yes, I fucking love The Matrix, but you can't compare. It's apples and
this-
oranges here, people.
This is, this isn't the Matrix. It's different. And if you haven't seen it, you can't say, going, it's just the Matrix. It's not the Matrix,
Yeah.
like at all. Like,
But
the
I do-
Matrix, I don't know. It's different. Like, the whole story is completely different in that.
Yeah.
That has machines that have done something as to where it's just people in this
Yeah.
one that
I
are
think-
kind of machines-ish. They're on
Yeah.
a server.
Because the Matrix is more like a philosophical movie too. At the end of the day, of like what's real, question your reality, kind of shit like this. This one is
Mhm.
just like a cool murder mystery, but also you end up kind of like questioning your own reality. So I mean, it's apples and oranges, people.
I don't know. As far
They're
as like
both
the
great.
questioning of the reality, it seems pretty cut and dry on what it is.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
Like, there's not like a
Because like,
is it though?
Yeah,
no, it is.
No.
Like,
It
no, I'm
definitely
pretty
isn't
sure.
real. It definitely isn't.
Yeah, it's definitely not. I mean, they show it to you. You get to go to the edge of it in this
Yeah.
movie, which is pretty fucking cool, actually.
The what I like about this is The Matrix did it too. Was like when they're in the simulation, it's a certain color,
Mhm.
and then when they're out of it in the real world, it's like a blue.
Yeah,
So they did the same thing in The Matrix. When they're in the green, everything's got like, or in the Matrix, everything's got a green hue, and then the real world, everything's like blue.
yeah.
And then spoiler alert, in this movie, when you go to another real world, everything's like yellow and red and stuff. You're like, oh. So I
Yeah.
just like, I love. I mean, I know it's a trick for movies to like convey different time, different place, and everything. But I was like, that's
Yeah.
fucking clever. I like that.
yeah,
The Matrix one is really clever though because the coding is green, so you're like,
Yeah.
of course it's green. But this
Yeah.
isn't the Matrix. So.
no.
But I gotta say, Douglas has a real nice silk shirt when he tries to jack in to the system. You know,
Isn't that said in the Matrix though?
No, I think
Like
they
jacking
say.
in.
I don't think they say jack in.
I really wanted to look it
I
up
think they
before
say
we started.
plug. I know they're like put me in. Yeah, I don't know if they ever say jack in because it just sounds too much like jack off to me, and it's like,
I know. You guys, y'all want to jack in? Just
yeah,
jack out.
let's go jack out, guys. Like, yeah,
I was like, jack out.
I'm gonna jack in the computer just to jack off, if you know what I mean.
Now I'm getting no. I jack in. Do you jack into the Matrix?
The Maitri, but what do they say?
Let's see. Jacking in Matrix Wiki. I guess you do. Nice. Neo and Trinity jacked into jack in the crew member.
I don't know if they ever said it though.
Let's see. This will feel a little weird. Yeah. To jack in the crew member in the chat. That's what they're referring it to on here.
Okay, well, I don't know
This
if
is
it's
this is
ever
the
said,
this is the Wikipedia, so we know that it's actual factual stuff here.
but is it said?
And that's what I'm wondering. I'm not seeing it quotes.
I mean, I guess it makes sense. Like it's like you
This to me, the Matrix ones makes more sense because you're
'cause you're like
literally like,
plugging
yeah,
in.
like
This one,
plugging
you're just
into,
like scanning your brain and like
you're like downloading into somebody else,
yeah. So
which
download
seems
sounds cooler.
extremely dangerous as it is.
Well, that's like I like how later on they show that in the movie when Vincent D'Onofrio goes in, he's driving a fucking car in the rain and he gets into an accident. Like that's super fucking dangerous to be like just suddenly jump into this person's life in 1930s like L.A.
I
You're like,
know,
oh shit.
like, yeah, and I thought to myself, like I'm sitting here thinking, like, man, this is so cool. It'd be so cool to be able to do this, but it would really screw up who was like you were doing it to.
Yeah.
So I'm like, it would be cool if you just had like an avatar that just like stayed wherever when you weren't using it.
Because I mean, yeah, it messes with that old guy's life because he's like, yeah, my wife thinks I'm having an affair. I come home, I smell like perfume. He's like,
I think I'm
I've never
having
done
these dreams and everything
Yeah.
feels really real. Oh yeah, it's totally real.
And
You're
then
paying
yeah,
all these
like
checks.
the Douglas when he goes into the bank teller, which why do bank tellers have that thing wrapped around their arm so they don't put anything up their sleeves? Like what is that? I've
I
always
always
seen it
wondered
in
that
movies and
too.
I've never known what it is.
That's another thing you gotta ask.
But I like yeah, and he like jumps in and that lady's giving him change and he's just like ruining this bank teller's like job because then he goes out across to like Pasadena and everything and then
And
guy
then
wakes
pretty
up
much
in a
just like
bathroom of
leaves
just
them
like
there.
guy wakes up in the bathroom like where am I? So now he's got to go back to work and like
And
then
that'd
the
be
next
such
time
a like when I think about it even more, it's just like such a dick thing to do because you're basically just taking a random person you don't know, taking them somewhere completely that they may
and
have
then
never
just
been,
bail
and
him.
then just leaving them there.
And then like yeah, when he jacks back in and they're doing the Lindy Hop dance,
Who's
then he
that
just
woman?
leaves. I think
Was
I'm
that like his
guessing it's his
girlfriend?
wife or his girlfriend, but I'm like, you just fucking left her here. What a dick. I mean, and like
And
he's
like,
the guy that's like, these are real people, even though I'm fucking with this real guy's life.
yeah, it don't matter because he has my face.
Yeah.
You're like, well, who's the real evil one?
I love when they're downloading the consciousness and there's like the wire framing that like moves off of his face to like the bank teller's face and it shows the brains like like I feel like it's
I
like a
also
little over
was
the
wondering
top.
to myself, like, so when you have to do like a shirtless headshot for these.
Oh, of course, yeah. When you're like,
Like,
hey, before you jack into our simulation, we need a shirtless headshot of you so we can wireframe your
'cause
face
I was like,
and
why do
make
they have
sure
to?
it goes onto the other guy's face.
I just kept like, why do they all shirtless? Why do you gotta be shirtless? Like they're not even undressed when they get into this thing.
Yeah.
I was like, you need a shirtless headshot. All of them have it too.
Oh, yeah.
Like
you
whoever
gotta.
jacks in, they've got a shirtless headshot.
Well, you don't want clothes to get in the way of the wireframing scan, because then when you jack into that guy, he could have like a bulgy shirts and stuff like
Yeah,
that.
but I mean, what are they? Then what's the point of like you laying in there to scan you? Like, why scan you? Shouldn't you be able to just lay there and it should already know your face?
Yeah, I don't know if it's like scanning your brain because the lasers come this way.
I
I don't
know.
know. I
I
have
think
questions about the
like because
machine.
see, I could see it where it was just scanning your brain. Fine, you've already got a picture of the person. They've
Yeah.
already been put into the system. You
They
already know what they look like.
you.
Yeah,
You modeled it to look like you.
yeah. So it's you. I mean, it's not
Which it
like
seems like
that
Doug,
point, that whole thing, that whole portion is super unnecessary now that
which
I
I feel
talk
like
about it.
Douglas didn't know that there was one modeled after him. Because when he came in there, he like looked in the mirror and he like realized it was him. And then when he like meets um Ashton or whatever his name was later on, he like sees that it looks like Vincent D'Onofrio in the real world. He's like, "What the fuck?" And then he sees that Fuller looks like him. So like, I don't think he knew that these like simulated people are modeled after real people because he was like freaking out when he first saw it.
Didn't what's his name tell him that they were?
I don't know if he told him they designed him off of him or something. He might have. But yeah, it just seemed like he was just like, "Oh shit!" Like he was like so shocked when he saw everybody.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I would be too. I mean, if
Yeah.
they were like, oh, oh no, it's like it's not supposed to be like super real, and then you go in there and it's like that, and I'm like, I'd be like looking at everything too, like, holy shit, I'm in the fucking 30s.
Extra, extra. Why did the newspaper kids always say that?
Who knows if it was even a real thing?
Extra, extra. And that was Spanky. Did you realize that was Spanky from Little Rascals? Like,
I
hey,
did
hey,
not.
mister, you want a paper? It's only 10 cents. Like, you see his face for a second. I was like, hey, that's Spanky.
Would have looked at him and been like, 10 cents is a lot of money in this time,
Yeah,
kid. Get out
for
of my
this
way.
fucking thing? No.
Like,
How
no, I
much to
already
get
know what
to
happens.
How much to get to Pasadena? Like $10 if I turn the meter on. I was like, oh, or was it like 90 cents if I turn the meter on? I was like, why don't you just not, dude?
Yeah, you can just not. That's fine. I don't care.
And he was such a nice taxi driver. He's like, you mind waiting here? He's like, it would be a pleasure, sir. And I was like,
And I'm
no.
like, was that just the way it was back then? People are like a lot nicer.
Or do they simulate that the users get free taxi rides or something like that? They put the cheat code in, free taxi ride.
Oh man, that'd be so fun. Well, and then when
The
they get
only cheat code you make is free
free
taxis.
free tax.
Not
You
even
have to
free
work
food
and
or
stuff.
like
No free
unlimited
food, no
bullets,
free
just
money.
free travel, free fast travel. You have to unlock fast travel.
And it's not even like fast travel. It's like a normal
Normal
driving a
real
car.
time.
You don't even get to drive the car. You have to drive. Someone drives you there.
Man, this game is real. I'm glad I have the free taxi cheat code in though, because then I'd have to
Yeah,
drive myself everywhere.
I know.
I thought it was really like I had a question. Is like he goes to the bar, he talks to Ashton,
Mhm.
and he starts getting like woozy because his time's running out, and then he has like a seizure and is like the guy's bleeding from his nose.
Mhm.
Why isn't it like that when he's jacking in? Or is it because jacking in such an instantaneous thing, but when you are jacked out, it's like a slow progression because your mind's getting normal to it? Because like in my
Well,
head, like he would
I
jump into that body laying on the ground and bleeding out of his nose because like that person's going through the same process of like being downloaded, so they start getting real sick and everything like that.
um okay, so I guess for that one, yeah, when they're jacking in, I think it's just like a quick, like instantaneous, like slap you right in there,
Mm-hmm.
and then like you were saying, when they're on the way out, it's slower. But I think that might be because they've got usually they have that timer set up, and like I think the timer is what like kind of starts dragging them back like slowly, like so they don't just like snap back into it. Like
I
when he
guess
did snap them back in because the
yeah,
timer hadn't been set, he kind
that's
of like
right. He just
freaked
like
out for a
boom.
little.
Yeah, okay, that makes sense now. I thought that was really
Kind of
cool.
like ease you back into the real world, depending on which world you happen to be
I like that whole
in.
like clever thing of like, oh no, I don't smoke, and then when he leaves, and then Ferguson comes out, he's like, hey man, you gotta smoke. He's like, I thought you said you didn't smoke. You didn't finish your drink. And I love when he says that. It cuts to Douglas in the real world, and Vincent D'Onofrio's handing him a drink, and he's finishing the drink. I'm like, that's fucking cool. That was a cool fucking jump. I don't know. He's like, hey sir, you didn't finish your drink, and then he's getting handed a drink by Vincent D'Onofrio. I don't remember his name in the real world. I only remember his name in the simulation.
It was. Are we talking about Ashton?
Yeah, like what was Vincent D'Onofrio's name in the real world?
Whitney,
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
his long hair.
yeah. He had a better haircut. He's like, I saw I saw Ashton. He had a better haircut than you. I'm like, he looks cool with long hair. He looks like a creep without. I don't know. Maybe
Yeah,
I'm
he
just
looks.
weird.
Yeah, he looks weird without it.
Yeah.
Honestly, I don't know. He has that face. Like, it's kind of a creep face. Like, it's not, and not in like a bad way. I don't know how to describe.
I think
You know what
he's
I
really
mean?
good at like holding his face a certain way. Because like he can be, completely normal, but like Vincent D'Onofrio is so good at like changing small aspects of his face to like instantly look unsettling and creepy, and he does that so well when he's like Ashton in the simulation, like the way he moves around, you're like, and like even in the cell, like the cell, it was really
Oh
fucking
my
creepy.
God! Like he's a
He's so
yeah,
good at it, but then like he
yeah.
does other things, like he was in Jurassic World and he was a normal dude, but he was in the Daredevil series and he was fucking great in that, and he's not creepy, he's just like this like he's Vincent or Wilson Fisk, and he's like this fucking like powerful man, so he doesn't have that creepy face, but he's so good at turning it off and on. I
He's just
commend you
he's a
for
good,
that.
very good actor.
He is. It turns out that Fuller had a daughter, and she's in there to take over the company and shut the simulation off. And when he like follows her to the hotel or whatever, and
Hmm.
then the second time he goes there, she's like, let's dance. He's like, oh, I can't, I buy all of my shoes in left pairs.
I know. I saw. I wrote that down. And I was like, that was dumb, dude.
Yeah, I'll buy the ball in left pairs. Well, you're pretty good dancer for a guy who's got no right feet.
um, the lady that's playing piano and stuff. She's singing the same song from the beginning of the movie.
Ooh, yeah, I liked that.
And then
I
their
forgot how the
weird
song.
not kiss scene.
Yeah,
The music behind it, I was just like,
yeah.
okay, and then
And
that's it.
her line, because she's like deja vu is I think that deja vu is a sign of love at first sight. I
Yeah,
have deja vu of me watching like TV. So does that mean like
you
that
just
TV show
love.
is love at first sight, or I just love TV? Like there's times where I'll be like watching TV and go, I had a dream about this of me scrolling on Instagram and watching this TV show.
I
It's
know
not
I
love
have
at
weird
first
stuff
sight.
like that, and like, no, that's just a dumb thing you're saying because you like
Yeah.
the guy.
Yeah. No, 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 no. This guy buys all his shoes in left feet pairs, so that's not deja vu, lady.
Yeah, and then and then after that is when that one dude, uh, that bartender guy, does he get killed after that, or is that when he like kind of shakes him down?
No,
I know the cop ends up finding him and talking about that, and that's why he gets like
well,
arrested because they
the
they they go into his house all scary at night while he's sleeping.
yeah, yeah, they go in because before that the creepy bartender was trying to buy off Douglas because he saw what he claimed to see Douglas being there to kill the old guy. I just forgot his fucking name.
Bowler.
Fuller. Yeah. So he's like, "Oh, I saw you there." And so like he's trying to, blackmail him, and then
Yeah.
Douglas kicks the shit out of him. But then I love when the cops come in and storm Douglas's apartment. Once again, this detective has all those typical detective lines. Like, "What's this about?" It's like, "What it's usually about. Murder." It's like, you could just say,
Moida.
"Moida."
So
I was sick of it. What it's usually about, hey, friend? Murder. It's like, you could just say, we're arresting you.
it's usually about Allstate. It's about
And then,
Allstate. You're in good hands.
yeah.
That's I
Allstate.
kept
That's all
wanting
I
to
think
make
of, dude,
dumb
is
jokes.
like Allstate guy.
I just
But
like every time he would say something, I always just like I was sitting here answering him when he would ask questions, like always something with like insurance,
yeah.
and I'm like sitting here laughing to myself. I'm like, God, what a fucking kid I am.
Well, that's how I know him now.
I know
He's got that voice.
they're not bad commercials. I enjoy those commercials because he's got a nice voice.
Yeah. So the scene that, yeah, when they take him in and they show that the bartender was moited, he was like, yeah, we took a state from him, and he was going to reach out. What was it? He was going to reach out and get in touch with us. Looks like somebody touched him first. I was like,
Like,
that wasn't a good one.
not like that.
Is it like, is this
No, it
detective
wasn't.
like writing these lines before, and he's like, oh yeah, he was gonna get in touch with us. Looks like someone touched him first, but then he says it out loud. He's like, that didn't sound
No,
as
that
cool
didn't
out
sa-
loud.
Yeah, it didn't come out how I thought it was gonna.
Yeah.
And at this point, when they showed him those, I thought, why haven't you checked fingerprints yet? You've already arrested this guy. You'd probably fingerprinted him. Why aren't you guys checking for fingerprints in these places?
Well, they don't have the murder weapon for the first crime. And then the second crime, yeah, I don't know. I mean, I feel like fingerprints take a lot longer. Like I think in like
Fingerprints. Well, they
movies
could
and
have
shit,
like,
like they make it look like instantaneous, but when they like actually check for fingerprints, I'm sure like shit takes like a week for like
well,
paperwork
yeah,
disputes and stuff. So
but this is a movie, you
yeah,
know.
like they should have been
I
like,
get
we checked your prints, we found your fibers there too,
found
we
it.
found
Yeah.
random
Well, that's
fibers.
that's what I was thinking. You know, maybe like some fibers.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Looks like you got a good alibi, and she's got signing the paperwork, you know.
Yeah, we were hanging out. It's all good.
And so then, yeah, he jacks back in without a timer. Timer not set.
See, I
Timer
feel like
not set.
he meant to set the timer, just
Yeah,
didn't set because
because he
he's
said it said like 120. He put like 2 hours or whatever. But I think
yeah.
like he doesn't hit enter or whatever. So
Yeah, that
always hit
rookie
enter.
mistake.
He didn't listen to the computer. He went in before being told by the computer that the timer was set.
Even though he could
Maybe
read it
that's why
right
they
there.
do it, because there's idiots like that just like jump into shit. It's like
Yeah,
wait
he's
for
like,
the
oh, got
computer to
it,
tell
ready to
you.
go, and just goes and hops in, and some that once that laser hits your forehead, out, you're out, and you're in, out and in,
Yeah.
that quick.
I love when he jacks back in and he goes to Fuller, Fuller's house, that guy, and he throws a rock at the window and he just like completely smashes through it. And like
Yeah.
that's pretty realistic, because I always hate that movies and like throw rocks at the window and it just stings and just like.
Yeah, he just takes a heavy rock and breaks the
Mhm.
window. I call the police.
Yeah, I call the police. I really liked that scene. Was really cool when he's like discussing with this guy, like, I know why you black out. I know
Mhm.
why you think like you wake up in different places. And so like he's like, when did this all start? He's like, oh, about a week ago. And that part where he like pulls out that luggage and it's got that like nice suit that's like
Yeah.
perfectly tailored to him. Yeah, that was cool. And it's like they're trying to like re-jog his memories because he has dreams about him like sleeping with young girls, because that's all
I know,
Fuller
and then
did, was
like
like get in there and be creepy. It was like,
I know, but then I'm like, oh, was he that much of a creep? Because they're all like, oh, hey,
yeah, hey, yeah,
like
he
they
wasn't
are
like
simulation,
buying them
but
off.
they weren't like creeped out by him or anything. Like, oh
They
man,
loved him.
you're
Well, I mean,
back.
because he was rich. So
Yeah,
back then he was a millionaire because he had a fancy suit and a top hat.
and yeah, you just walk in like that, and boom.
Mm-hmm. And then this is when you find out that Ashton read the letter, and you find out what's in the letter, and there was a cool fight scene. And then once again, he's so good at playing crazy because he's like, waving the gun around because like, Douglas is trying to go find the letter that he's supposed to
Yeah.
give him, and he's got the gun. It was a cool fucking scene.
He takes some chances too. I mean, like when Douglas finally gets the letter off of him, and he's holding the gun to him, looks down for a second, and he like,
Boom.
I'm like, that's pretty gutsy, dude.
Yeah, I love that when he's like, "It's not real." He's like, "Well, does this feel real?" And just like shoots him in the shoulder and the leg.
Then
It's like,
shoots him
nice.
again. I'm like, damn.
But that cool moment of like Douglas has the gun in his mouth and he pulls out. He's like, I was like, ooh.
I'm like, yeah, do you really like? I thought to myself when he had that gun in his mouth, I'm like, do you think he really gives a shit? I'm like, he knows he's
not
a
real.
simulation. He
Yeah,
knows he's
he
not
knows
real.
this world's not real. So why the fuck would he care? Blow his brains out.
That would suck though to be him and then end up
Yeah.
in another simulation.
Yeah, like, oh man. Yeah, that was a cool scene when you found out what was in the letter.
But when he gets like pulled back, and I'm thinking like, wait, so is he gonna kill him? Like,
Oh, the Ferguson.
yeah, I
version?
was like, man,
yeah.
he's gonna like end up killing Ferguson.
Yeah.
But then he doesn't, obviously.
Yeah. But I like that because then when he gets pulled out, like Whitney is like helping him out, so it like cuts from like him looking up at Ashton to him looking up at Whitney, and then he's like starts choking him, and then he punches him in the face. I was like,
He's like,
that's,
what the
Because
hell?
like, yeah, like that's cool. Like that makes more sense now. Like immediately jacking in and out instead of that
Yeah.
like slow progression, because then you're like, boom. So yeah.
Yeah, but he whipped him right out of that one because that was the time he didn't have the.
Yeah. So he didn't start feeling all sick and something.
Yeah.
But yeah, to find out that his world was fake, he did what the letter was instructed and just keep driving.
And I like how
Keep driving.
I like how it looks when the crow like flies into it, and it's
It,
like
it reminds me of that
crushes.
Treehouse of Horrors Simpsons episode where Homer goes into the behind the bookshelf,
Oh yeah,
and it's like that 3D world. Like that's what it always looks like. Like any wireframe thing is like that Simpsons episode.
like what I was wondering is like, what happens if you go out there?
You turn into that bird and you're just undigitally made. Or
So
I
you
guess
just-
you could come back and be
Like,
made it
so
good. So
could
if
you
you just
walk like off to the edge and like look at your hand and like all digital?
yeah, be all wireframe, you bring it back and it's normal. Probably because it's where
Oh,
like the coding stops. So
like, so would you just dissolve out there? Because I mean, the mountains are still out there. Would you just
I
be like a
think
weird green, like
I think you'd just be like a weird
untextured?
green, yeah, wired frame, not rendered thing, and then you'd walk back and you'd like re-render. Like I don't know, I got a question about that. I would have done the same thing. I would put my hand up. Whoa, that's
You
fucking
know, because
cool.
if I was a simulation, like, what is it gonna do if I walk all the way out here? Screw it, you know?
Yeah, Whitney does bring up a good point. Like Douglas wakes up, he's like, "These are real people, just like you and me. We're shutting this down." Which, a, if you shut it down, you kill all those people that you're talking about.
Yeah,
But when he's like, "We worked like." This affects all of us. Like we all worked 6 years on this. I'm like, yeah, you're not the only dude that worked it. Like there's a whole crew of people, and you're just like, we're
yeah, you
shutting
know,
this down. It's
yeah.
like,
We're
dude, you're
shutting this
putting
down
like
because I said
hundreds
so.
out of a job, man. Like Jesus.
I'm like, or maybe you could just, maybe think about what you're doing before you guys just start prancing in there and
Yeah,
screwing around with
rework
random
it.
people. Yeah. And plus, if you shut it down and restart, like, are they going to know? Probably not.
You just murdered all those people you said were real, so it's like,
Yeah, but I mean, like, say, like, if there's a reset button, does
mhm,
everybody that died in there come back?
probably.
And they just wouldn't know regardless because it would just pick up, like, middle of the 1930s or
It
whatever.
would just start over where like what their day
Yeah.
was before they died. Yeah,
Yeah.
like it would just be like a normal day again for them.
Like, so just
Like
hit the
nothing
damn
happened
reset
again.
button. So then at that point, I'm thinking, and here I am going to the end of the movie again. What does it fucking matter if what's his name just goes and kills lines of code? You know?
They're
I
real
mean,
people. They're real people just like you and me.
if you could just reset it, then it wouldn't even fucking matter.
Well, that's like a video game. You go in, you play Grand Theft Auto, you go in, you go crazy, you kill, pedestrians. You don't think about them being real because you unsave the game and they're
You
fine
know,
again.
and they're fine.
Or if you play like Skyrim and you kill an NPC that you needed to talk to, load it up again, you'll be
Yeah,
fine.
boom, they're back. I feel like it would just and like, that's the same with like if you screw up in those games.
Yeah, and you'll load
The
up a previous
cops
save.
cops are all over you. And you're like, oh wait, here, let me just load this previous save. And they're like, how you doing?
Ooh, I fucked up that stealth mission. Load the previous save, get that over
Yeah,
with again.
because I feel like that's what this would be kind of like.
Yeah. Just
Like,
load
even though it
previous
looks
save.
really real, it's real.
It's real. Oh, it's so
Even
real.
though it looks real, like it's totally not still.
And you can just reload
And I'm
again.
like, basically, like if all these people just didn't have faces, would it be easier for you to like just murder them or like
Yeah.
hit the reset button so they could just reset?
Maybe these guys just didn't play a lot of video games. Like a lot of violent video games too. Because like
Yeah.
I think us like our generation's so desensitized because we're like, I know it's a video game, it's not real, and then we're just like, "Brrr." Like I'm not obviously
Yeah.
gonna do it in real life, but it's like I know it's a video game. It's who
Yeah, I
gives a
can
shit?
discern reality from like
But maybe if we jacked into that world, we're like, wow, these people are real, and I'm murdering them. So who knows?
and
Like
you
once
just get
you're
all
in that
addicted to
reality,
like killing
you know?
and murdering people.
Yeah.
And then then I'm like, okay, well then is he murdering and killing outside of the virtual reality? Because I mean, if
Who
he's not,
knows?
then
Who
I mean, if he's just being a dick husband, that's no real reason to like literally kill him in a different like
Yeah.
simulation. So a simulation can take him over.
Yeah.
It's like, is he abusive outside of this place? She made it kind of
Changed,
seem
man.
that way,
Yeah. I mean,
but then
anyway,
it's
that's
like, oh,
later on. Hang
are
on.
you just
Let's
being
go.
like selfish?
Yeah. I feel like she's just being selfish because she's like, he reminds me of how you used to be. So I just want to know, like, this guy is suddenly a really good detective. And also, he patiently waits in that hotel for, like, Douglas to show up, going, like, she's gone. It's like, he's just, like, how
Yeah.
long was he sitting there and waiting for, like, hopefully him to show up and go, yeah, she's gone. Like,
Be
what
great if
he
he just
didn't?
walked down and be like, yeah, he didn't show up.
Yeah, fuck. So I was waiting here to do that cool reveal of me, like, sitting here all cool, going, like, yeah,
Like,
she's
so
gone.
did he have to pay like to get into that room and sit there?
Well, he was in the lobby.
Oh, that's right.
And so he's just sitting in the lobby for God knows how long for him to like wait for Douglas to show up. So I'm like,
Oh,
that's
it's cool.
detective.
No one else ever does anything around here.
Yeah, but he's a good detective.
I know, but I mean, like, and then that's another question I have. So, like, in the simulations, are there people that cause crimes, or they just don't?
Yeah, well, they have to because they have to make it think it's like a real world. They simulated it after the real world, so crimes happen in the simulation because crimes happen in the real world. You have to like, you know, it's
I
like
don't
when
know.
you
It just
play.
doesn't seem like anybody like there's like nothing else going on. It seems like it
Well, I
almost
mean, it's
seems
always
like
this. It's you're in a small moment of it. I mean, if you were like watch if this movie were to take longer length of time, like more than just like a span of a couple days, I feel like other
well,
crimes
I
would be
guess that's true. Oh
happening.
well, and then what's his name does get busted by the cops. Like,
Yeah,
but I mean they do get. I don't know.
like I think it's like
Like if it's not a person that's not like a psycho, like real well, no, because he's not really technically real, I guess.
I think I mean it's got to have simulated crime because I mean like even if you think about Red Dead Redemption 2 or Red Dead Redemption 1 or even Grand Theft Auto, like there's other crimes happening, like people will steal people's purses or something like that, or like steal someone's horse or like rob up another bank. So like I feel
Right,
like
and then you can get involved.
and you
And
get
when
good
I do,
points or bad points,
I kill the dude and I take the purse for myself.
Yeah. See, I always return it because I'm too much of a sucker.
Well, it
I
just
can't
depends. It
live
depends
evil in a
on
game.
depends on how close this person is to make some like, you're all the way over there. I let
Oh,
this guy
come
run that
back.
far. I'm like, nah, it's whatever.
Douglas is trying to find what's her name, and he goes that like her house.
hmm
I like when he just like that girl's like, who are you looking for? He's like, oh, she's probably like five something blonde, and like instead of being like worried about this, she goes, what do you want with her? And then gives away
Yeah,
all her information so he can go find her. I'm like, it's not a very good friend if she's like, hey, this creepy guy was looking for you, so I told him where you work.
if right, like, oh yeah, it's cool. She's at work where she
Yeah.
can't get away from you when you walk in.
Which I love that the he's at a Vons, which is the California version of Safeway.
Mhm.
Um, I love that end cap that dude's building is just like giant bags of long grain rice and then just giant jugs of corn oil.
You got to have
And
that
then
fried rice.
and then Douglas proceeds to buy just like a jug of corn oil and whatever else he could grab.
He gets like a can of something. He gets a 2 liter of Pepsi and then throws it all away.
Yeah, which is a Pepsi movie because Whitney's drinking Pepsi earlier on in the movie.
Yeah.
They have a Coke display. I thought I saw vanilla Coke on there, but that came out in 2002, so it couldn't have been. But like, it's Pepsi.
Pepsi's extremely lazy
It's easy to get
product
a
placement.
Pepsi sponsorship.
Yeah.
Like big budget movies like Back to the Future can get it, but then also Trick or Treat can get it. So
And
Pepsi
then
doesn't care.
also this.
13th
Also
Floor.
third first floor, you know?
But yeah, and then the other end cap was a giant top ramen display. I like how
That's what
we've worked in
kids ate in the
grocery
90s.
stores. We work in grocery stores so much that I'm like cutting down the realism of a grocery store in a movie. I'm like, oh, check out that end cap. That's a pretty cool. Blah, 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 blah. Like, why do I care so much about what's going on in the grocery store in a movie? That's because it's in my blood.
Well, yeah. And then, that's where we spend a lot of our time.
And also, has Douglas never bought groceries at a grocery store before? Because he doesn't know how to use the card thing. He like goes to hand it to her, and then
When
she's like, slide it, and then he goes to slide it, and he's just sitting there staring at it, and then like she puts in like the numbers and stuff for him too. I was like, has this guy never bought groceries before? Is he that rich?
Well, here's the thing, like that stuff, like when I still had a register at work, that would happen a lot. Oh, here you go. I'm like, no, you. Oh, okay. And they
So
just
you
sit
don't-
there like staring. I'm like, yeah, dude, if you want cash back, hit that green button.
Yeah, I like how she's like, do you want cash back? I was like,
It's weird, but it used to have, and this is like maybe a year ago when I had it, and it still happened.
it's like, hey,
So
we've been doing card readers for quite a long time. It's been slided on. It's not like the 90s
to
anymore.
to
where we
the
have
to the
like carbon copy it. Jesus
to
Christ,
the
man.
credit of the people that are doing it, they're usually older. Like it's not usually someone like you or me. I mean, if it was someone in their 30s, I'd be like, what the But I thought that too about him. I'm like, dude, if you're rich, you're always paying with a card. So like, what the hell
Well,
is this?
maybe he makes other people go grocery shop for him because I mean he is living in a palace in the
Yeah,
sky.
I don't know how to use this piece of plastic. Will you?
Help me. Cool twist drop, because he finds out she doesn't know him, she doesn't remember him, so he does what Ashton did in his reality, drives and drives and drives until he sees the Treehouse of Horrors Simpsons episode. And then she jacks in and calls him and he goes, I know the truth.
Okay. Like nothing really comes out of that either until they are like around each other.
And I like his too, where he's just like, nothing's fucking real. What does it matter? Like he gets in that mindset, which I really
Yeah, like
like. Like,
quick too. Like
yeah,
it's just like
like
oh,
Ashton's like, I want to know the real world. This is crazy, and he's just like, nothing fucking matters. Who cares if I die? Nothing's real.
I know when he's pointing the gun at him, he's just looking at him like
Do it.
whatever,
Which
man.
I felt so bad for Whitney. Finally gets into the simulation he's been wanting to. Jumps into him driving, almost fucking dies,
I know.
and then gets like the cop comes over, and I love when the cop's like license and registration's like, oh, I left when I left it at home. He's like, check the glove box. Like, oh yeah. And I felt so bad because then like you hear the thumping in the trunk, and it's fucking
You're like, oh man.
oh, which is good because then um Ferguson didn't die.
Yeah.
So I love it. He's like, it's Douglas, man. It's a fucking joke, man. It's like, back up. I felt so bad. I think I
I know.
smashed right through that window.
But then I'm like, oh, that's like so yeah, the way that those simulations can get out is if like you're and I thought, well, how would that be? I'm like, well, I guess you're taking them over. So I mean, if you get
What I
killed, it's you getting killed. It's not
what I think
them.
it is like there's that constant scene of like your brain downloading into their brain. So I
Mhm.
think it temporarily downloads their brain into your brain in the real world so you can jump into theirs. So if your connection's severed in there, like they're in your body. So it's almost like quantum leap in a way. Like every time Sam jumped into that person, they would jump into Sam's body in like the 90s and be like in the waiting room. So I think it's like that, where it's like while you're in their body, they're in your body because you have to like transfer the consciousness.
Except for
So
they're just like put to sleep pretty much until you get
yeah.
back.
So then yeah, like I guess if you die in there, they jump into your body in real life.
And what about if like you're like not like say you weren't there and your avatar got killed by some like psycho or whatever, and then you tried to go back? Can you go back?
I don't know if you can. Maybe you just like
You're
get
just like
kicked out and you're
screwed.
like,
You're like, oh man, now I can't
game
jack
over.
in anymore.
Oh fuck, dude! I gotta find a new character. I gotta start a new game. Oh man,
Yeah, it's
it's
like,
gonna
are
take me
you?
forever to do the Skyrim like try to make this character look like me thing, dude. Oh, those sliders are so fucking annoying.
That's why
Dude.
I'd always just make like really off the wall, like creepy looking people.
That's a good point though. Like, yeah, what if your character, or do you like put a filter cheat code on them to where they can never die, or like nobody intentionally seeks them out, kind of a thing. Like once again, it's like the free taxi cheat code, and nobody kills your character cheat code, just so you can constantly jack back into the system.
But you can accidentally kill your character.
Yeah, that like once you're in there, it's all free game. But like
Yeah,
before you're in there,
yeah. Then they can't die. Well, if that was the case, then like poor what's his name was just going to get tortured for a really long time.
oh god, yep,
Like, sorry, you can't die unless
yeah,
like
Ferguson, you're being drowned and you can't die. You're just like laying under the water, and now you're
so
being tied
unless
up and
unless what's
probably
his
gonna
name
be
comes back
burned
and
alive, and
yeah,
like you won't die. I'm sorry, dude.
it's messed up.
But what a horrible thing! Like you jump back into your character and they're being burned alive, you're dead
Yeah,
because suddenly you're the real person. So you're like jump back in, and just and then you're fucking dead. Like, it's a good thing Douglas didn't jump back in at that moment.
I like how that's the default. You're being burned alive.
Yeah,
That's
oh,
what it is. You jump right back in and you're being burned alive. You saved somebody from like eternity of pain.
yeah. Thanks for taking one for the team. I love that scene when Ashton's in like the real world and he's like trying to open the glass door.
Yeah.
And then he keeps opening and he like keeps trying to do it. I fucking love that scene. And how like the security guard calls Douglas and then Douglas proceeds to take the longest time to go answer the fucking phone.
I know.
Like, let me slowly get my robe on and slowly walk over. Like, who's calling me? I've never had a phone call in this place before. What?
What is that? No, where is that coming from?
Yeah.
I know
Takes
he's so rich, dude. He
forever.
doesn't even answer his own phones.
Yeah.
He does well.
Yeah, I do. I make a living.
I only own the entire, top floor of,
Yeah,
of
the
a building.
13th floor. It's no big deal.
No big
Yeah,
deal.
I make a living. I don't know how to answer a phone or buy groceries.
I don't even know how to use a credit card.
You got it. And Ashton's pulling a good old classic Marty Jr. from Back to the Future 2, where he's watching like 10 different things on a TV at once. So it was like nice. He didn't tilt him slightly though. That was the only problem.
He was just absorbing. Hey, what'd
The
you do
real
with the
world.
pictures?
Yeah, what'd you do to the world? I like that. Like he thought that was the world, and then he saw the window, and he's like
I like how
climbing up.
like how Douglas rips the blinds up.
Yeah.
Like, did you
I
not
would
have
be.
blinds in the
I
30s?
felt. I kind of felt bad for Ashton's character at that point because he finds out his world's not real, so then he gets suddenly turned into the real world.
Which is
He's like
also
trying
totally
to.
not real.
Yeah, and so then now Douglas is telling him that world's not real, so he's just like what the fuck? And the guy's using words like computers and stuff like that on him. He's like, I don't know what the fuck a computer is, and then
Yeah, pretty much.
like,
He's just like, well, yeah, it'd be like really, like, you know how like you and me will sit here and we're like, oh man, it'd be so sick to see the future, you know, like it'd be so badass.
yeah,
But I mean, it would be, I don't know. There's a good chance we would go through like shock.
yeah, because
you
they're
know,
like
from
saying
like,
words. We're like, what are you saying? I don't know what this is.
Yeah, and
like,
we'd be
you
all
don't know what a blah
confused.
blah blah is.
I'm like, dude, no, I don't. I've never heard. I don't know. It's sensory overload.
Yeah.
It's a lot of shock going on here.
What's an arcade? Douglas realized that it's Ashton. He's like, he did it. He jacked in. Like, Jack. He jacked in. Who's Jack? Oh,
Yeah.
when he says that in the background, I was like, who's Jack? He's just like looking. And then when the real Douglas jacks back in, you can tell he's evil because he does the evil smile.
Yeah.
You're like, oh, now
You're
he's
like,
the evil guy.
That's the evil version.
Mm-hmm.
Also, it's cool. Like, so when someone jacks in, do the opposite parties see that like flash in their eyes? Because I've noticed that everybody there just seems kind of unfazed by it.
Yeah, I wonder if they're programmed not to notice it.
Because it just like, you know, I feel
Yeah.
like it'd be pretty noticeable because it's like a little lightning storm
Because
inside their
like,
eyes.
yeah, when she's like checking out the groceries, like she like straight up is looking at a customer while she does it. So do they
Yeah.
see that, or are they just like programmed not to even notice that?
I like how anytime anybody jacks in, whatever they're doing, they just stop and walk away.
I like how she like pulls the gum out of her mouth and is like, ugh.
I don't do this.
So then yeah, he shows up, starts to like, which okay, so when Douglas leaves after the security guard calls him, she calls the police.
Hmm.
She calls the detective, which apparently he's a super great detective because has instantly figured out from finding out she's not the real her, like, I must live in a simulation. Like, how does he fucking figure that out so well?
Right?
But, like, when her husband is trying to kill her in the simulation, if he did, that poor grocery store retail lady's gonna wake up in the real world going like, where am I? Oh my god, I'm from Texas. What the fuck is going on? Like, I
Right.
feel so bad for her. She's the innocent in this. Like, this guy kills his wife in the simulation. A grocery store lady is gonna like wake up in the real world super confused. So then he's gonna have to kill her in the real world too. And then that's, you can't get out of that because it's the real world. Like,
Right?
yeah,
And he'll
that's,
just have a new wife.
hey, she's gonna have to go work at a grocery store. That's all
Yeah.
she knows.
Yeah, I don't know how to do it. What is this all
That would be a huge shock for her because she has no idea at all what's going on. Like, at least
Yeah.
Douglas knew like I was in a simulation. She's just gonna suddenly wake up in a different
like all she
place.
has is like a slight deja vu. I guess he
Yeah.
would have to just like run her through everything. But I mean, it wouldn't be him, I guess.
It'd be the dickhole husband.
Yeah.
So God, yeah, dude, you don't want to kill her now because you're gonna have to deal with a very confused lady outside of this.
Yeah. So 2024.
Yeah, not that far away.
And then we're gonna totally like is that what California is? That's them. Was that California where they're supposed
Yeah.
to be?
And
It's
apparently,
gonna
it's,
be like sweet. It looks honestly, I don't know. The weather looks kind of shitty, but
well, I mean, it's accurate then because the world's going to shit with weather. So it looks like half of LA floods, and now we're all next to the ocean, and there's giant towers in the ocean. I'm like, that's impractical because that's just going to erode and collapse.
Right, I was
And by
thinking that too.
2024, we've got it figured out. So don't worry.
yeah, technology is
In
making
2 years
leaps.
from now, we'll fucking
Yeah.
figure it out, guys.
Not only will LA is gonna flood,
Which it's, you know,
and you're gonna live in a sweet tower, bro.
oh, of course, yeah.
And it's gonna be all like chrome looking. There's gonna be flying cars. I saw a flying vehicle
I just saw birds. I didn't see the
It
flying
looked
car.
it looked like like a tube, just like
Everything's tube shaped. It's a lot easier
yeah.
to build tube shaped things, like
Is it
cylindrical things.
like is it easier to build cylinders?
And
I
I'm
don't
just
know.
gonna jack into a game, and live my life in
See, and that
1990s LA,
dude, what's funny is I was totally thinking, I'm like, man, if that was a real thing and like you could go to like time periods, I'd be like, I'd go back to like 94,
Yeah.
like be chilling in 94 as an adult. I'd be like, this fucking rules.
This dude fucking sick, dude. I
That's what
probably
we're gonna
wouldn't go
do.
to like early 90s in LA because that's a lot of like the LA riots and shit
Yeah,
happening.
yeah.
I'll skip that part. I'll go to 1999 LA.
Like 90, like 95.
There you go. Yeah, we'll go around there. Go
Somewhere
see
like halfway through.
Jurassic Park for the first time in a simulation. What
Right?
if Jurassic Park doesn't exist in the real world, though?
Oh, man, that'd be so weird, like going there and like stuff just doesn't exist
But it's
because
got to
it's like a
because
different timeline.
you base the simulation off your real world in a way, right? Because they modeled so
Well, it was like
the
his
real world modeled
childhood
the
in 1930.
simulation of 1990 LA, right? 1999 LA.
Yeah.
How did the 1999 simulation model after 1930s LA? They'd have to like just know like what LA looked like in the 30s, so it must have been real.
Hmm.
That's so hard to fucking think about now. This is hurting my brain. The simulations had to know what 1930s LA looked like, so did it actually look like that? I can't fucking.
I know. Now
Like
you
this
sit
is
here
like,
thinking like, well, but and it's also the creation of a guy who didn't really like it's not Fuller because it was like
yeah, because
him
he was
using an
modeled.
avatar. It's modeled after the 1930s, which was his childhood. But there's
Yeah,
no way that the real Fuller from like 2024 lived in the fucking 30s and was that old, you
yeah,
know?
because
So
yeah, and
this
he
is a
didn't even.
simulation's memories of the 30s.
And what's great is like he never jacks into it.
Yeah.
Fuller's just based off her dad. Her dad never goes in there.
Yeah.
So this simulation they made suddenly has the idea to make a simulation based off the 30s, which he's is programmed to think he lived in.
Yeah.
This is a fucking mind blow when you think about it. That's what
Yeah,
makes it
this
cool. You're just like,
movie like
oh shit.
that's why it's fun talking about it because now I can be like and like we're unlocking all this like weird like I don't know, maybe we're breaking the movie down too much.
I think that's what the point is, though. I think that's like always the point of these movies that like think about it a bunch, try to question
Like
things. Like, how is this
think
like?
about whether or not our AI could be smart enough to like create its own backstory and then create a world on top of
Yeah.
its own AI, which is so weird. like,
Well, it's their fault. The real simulation or like the real world people for making a simulation with that AI technology in it.
yeah.
They should have just made a 1930s one. This problem would have never happened.
So you
Go
think
back before
so?
computers made.
Yeah, but I
Why did they
mean,
choose the 90s?
is it their 99?
Yeah, it'd have to be because then they would have to download their history, right? They would work it off of their real world, put all of the world's history in it. So that's why the 1990 simulation knew what 1930s LA looked like,
Oh,
which is so weird. It's
okay.
like an AI has to like look through the past to see what 1930s look like. So I wonder like how accurate is it because it's a computer based off a computer trying to make a computer simulation. So it's like
Yeah,
things are bound to get fucked up.
did a pretty good job though.
I felt
Apparently.
like it'd be a lot funnier if like the 1930s simulation, like there'd be people like walking backwards or their like bodies are faced different way walking because it's like a computer making a
Or like
simulation. So
their
like
clothes are like really over the top, like the hats are maybe like extremely
yeah,
tall
like
or
big head
something.
mode, like so many.
Yeah.
There should have been like glitches in this that have been fucking great to show like A, it's a work in progress, but B, it's a computer
That would
simulation
have
and make it
been
go computer simulation.
you could still do a movie like that where and it could still be serious like this and have
Mhm.
glitches like that and it would be really fucking cool.
Yeah, because then yeah, like the user could notice that like shit's glitching out, or like they'll suddenly like glitch through a wall or something like that.
Yeah.
Like it'd be
Or
really
like
fun. Like
textures will be like weird or not
yeah,
load
like
and
they'd
then
run
just
into a different room, and then yeah, everything would be smooth and suddenly like rendered like it'd be really cool. Like I
so like I would love to see a movie like that. But now like I don't know if you could do it like this. I guess we could
mhm.
we'll reboot the 13th floor. But then, like, it kind of doesn't make sense, like, because they're not supposed to know. And if stuff like that just kept happening, then they would totally know. It's got to be a pretty solid.
But yeah, I mean, you'd have to program him to not notice that thing because,
Yeah.
like, the only reason that Ashton started questioning it is because it was brought up to him. Like, he read that thing. Like, they would never have to question their real world before because they're a simulation. But once he started to, and he was given, like, a way to find physical evidence, that's when it's bad. But, like, before that, they could, like, see like a plane glitching out or like somebody like walking in one spot into a wall and be like, oh, that's normal, that's nothing, or like program not to see that kind of shit. So
Mhm. Or where, like, if there was a bug, it just, like, none of the, yeah, they would just be programmed not to even, like,
yeah,
interfere with it or even notice it. Like, it was just not
it'd be
happening at
fucking
all.
cool. Like, I feel like don't I mean, remake this movie if you guys want, just do it in a cool way like that, or like make the 1930s all glitched out or something like that.
Yeah. Where stuff is just obviously not, like, completely right. And maybe that's why
Yeah,
what's his name kind of starts noticing, like, what the, like,
because maybe that kind of shit happens in the 1999 version. He starts noticing like glitches and shit of like, oh, I never looked at these things before.
and
You never think to.
the only reason he notices it because his crazy user keeps coming in and, like, doing stuff,
Hmm.
which would be, yeah, so it could totally work.
Yeah. Why'd you murder those people? Because it was fun.
I loved it because it was fun.
Yeah.
Like, okay,
Why'd you run over those people in GTA? Because it was
it was
fun.
fun. It's pretty, yeah.
Why did you hogtie that person and leave them on the train tracks in Red Dead Redemption? Because it's
It was
fun.
This is like screaming meme,
Hmm.
but no one will not ever. They won't know what we're talking about unless they've
Nope.
seen the movie
Yeah, and it's great. Now we can start doing the.
because it's fun.
Why do you watch Two Guys One Film? Because it's fun. Ladies and gentlemen, I have something really serious to tell you right now. Please sit down, because you're gonna be floored when you hear something like this.
We don't want you to hurt yourself.
If you enjoyed listening to this, guess what? There's a place you can go to watch shit like this and listen to shit like this all fucking day.
All the time, every hour, every minute all of your entire day. See, you're sitting here taking it up with family. You're taking it up with a job when you really should be taking it up with Project Nerd.
Project-nerd.com. Check it out. I know you're floored right now. You're going, wait a minute, there's stuff I can nerd out on a bunch of other stuff. Guess what? There is.
You thought it was just us?
No,
No,
there's more than us.
no, we're just the tip of the iceberg. We're just it's the tip of the iceberg.
And it goes deep, folks. Check it out. Project-nerd.com. You're going to be floored with all the nerd shit you can get.
Anyway,
All right.
let's rate
All
the
right.
movie.
Let's rate this effing movie, bruh. right.
All right.
Go ahead.
Huh. I'm gonna give this movie. I'm gonna give it 8. No, I'm gonna give it 9.5 green lasers. Man, I don't know. I like this. There's just so much about this movie, and I feel like we could even sit here and talk longer about, like, what goes on and why things are the way they are. And I think that's why this movie is so cool. And what was cool about this is I had seen it before, but I didn't remember a whole lot of stuff. Man, I lost my train of thought. There was something I did want to say about this. That it is all I can say that it is a fantastic movie. It's so good that I would recommend it to any. Actually, I would totally recommend this movie. If you like older 90s thrillers that are, like, kind of somewhat predict the future but have a decent amount of, like, turns where everything sort of, like, leads into it. There's not a whole lot of, I mean, I can't really like. There's a lot. There's a lot of questioning. You're questioning a lot of it, but that's part of the appeal to this, I guess. It's not. You're not questioning it because it's like I'll bring up cat people again. Someone wanders in while he's laying in the machine and goes, "Hey, I'm your brother," and then leaves, and it's never talked about again. You know, it's not like that. Like, shit happens, and you're like, "What? Why?" And then you're like, "Man, but if that happened, then how could this not happen, or maybe this would happen instead, and how did a person like this end up doing something like this? And that's the kind of movie that it is, and I think, and that's why I give it the high score that I've given it.
Nice. I
Epic.
am going to give this movie 9.8 left shoes. And I don't know, it is what I think is beautiful about it is it's kind of like it's basically like a pretty simple concept. And the way they play this movie out is like a kind of like a noir, like who did it. But there's just so much other shit going on. And I love how they don't really address it. They like leave it up to you to think about, like the shit we were thinking about, like, well, what happens when this happens? What happens this happens? It's like this guy just like living in this moment in this day. And I love that. I love when a movie can do that, where you can like keep thinking about it after it's over. You're like, oh, but what about this? What if like, what happens? Like, does this guy fall down and he gets a nosebleed? Like, it's, I think that's what makes it like a really cool thriller, sci-fi thriller kind of a thing. Is it like it makes you want more, and then it just leaves you with questions, but in a good way. It doesn't like
Yep.
open-ended questions of like, well, that's fucking dumb. Why didn't this happen? Like it, you ask why, but it makes sense. It's like why in a good way. Instead of going, why did they do that? That's fucking dumb. You just go like, oh, why did they do that? That's like, how is that possible? So, and I think it's got like pretty cool effects, even though they're dated. It did the good job. I think that Vincent D'Onofrio killed it. Like I think everybody did a good job acting in this movie. You know, to a point. It's kind of cheesy at parts, but at the end of the day, it's a noir. It's a mystery. It's fine. But yeah, 9.8 left shoes, pairs of left shoes is what I'm gonna have to give it. I think it's a great movie. I think our viewers should go watch it.
Definitely, if you
And
got time, definitely check it out.
yeah, it's pretty fucking sick. Like
So is it gonna make you think like we're thinking? Probably.
probably we probably ruined all of. And if you have more questions, fucking feel free to keep them to yourself, dude. I don't give a shit. No, I'm just kidding. Let us know,
Yeah, let us know. Let us know in the comments. Are we in a simulation?
dude. I'm about to go jack in, so I gotta leave.
All
Or
right.
what if someone jacks into me and suddenly I change? I'm gonna just do.
I guess. Too bad you can't edit in like the little flash in your eyes.
Yeah.
But I'm like an ass about it. I just start cracking up.
Don't question your reality when your friend just suddenly stops and gives up and runs. He's like, that's funny.
I guess we've been questioning reality our entire lives. That's
That's
why I
right.
wasn't as surprised.
Well, for Two Guys, One Film, I'm Dylan.
And I'm Dane.
We'll catch you next week.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for watching.
And watch 13th Floor. Go check it out.
Check it out. It's